call the meeting to order, and let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everybody. And a few announcements. We came out of executive session tonight at 5:52. We were talking about some real estate, legal matters, and our confidential review of our safety plans, which is always good to hear about. Also, Mary Colleen is not here tonight. She is vacationing with her family, and Gusta is watching her daughter as a senior at Oneonta play a field hockey game. So we're missing them tonight. That's all the announcements that I have. And I'm turning it over to Dr. Wilson-Turner to start out on her report. Oh, I'm sorry, why don't we adopt one to begin with? Yeah, why don't we just go on? Hey, I get a motion to adopt. Yeah, Naomi, thank you. And Petra, second. All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, Naomi.
No problem.
Dr. Wilson-Turner.
Good evening. So for our study session,
My shoes, your life, you know, it's that kind of night.
because of the full moon. So for our study session tonight, we have a few presentations that are essential to the opening of the school year, but also to the annual running of the organization in the format of our district goals and essential objectives, in particular in our organizational chart. So the first document I will have up is the district goals and essential objectives. And this is something that we do annually, not just at this moment in time, but actually several months in advance. So this process really begins with the development of our theme for the school year, and then bringing it into our budget process to determine how we make decisions about what is important to our organization, what we support in our organization in alignment with our district goals. This is a long-standing process for us as an organization. We bring it forward to all of our leaders in our Spring Leadership Academy to review the language, to make sure that the language is representative of our goals, but also that our essential objectives are responsive to what our current needs and practices are, and as we look forward to what the big rocks are going to be for the coming school year, that those are clearly aligned to our goals and the language in our essential objectives. You may have heard me speak at the last 2 board meetings about our leadership retreats. We then take these goal documents, and bring them into our leadership retreat to really guide the work that we are designing for the year at the district level. So our district level support, our district level leaders create goals that will provide oversight to information that is happening in our system. And then our building levels, elementary, middle, and high school, all of our leaders, both the principals, the assistant principals, academic administrators, and directors that support that work, come together and design their specific goals at their level in alignment with the district goals. Then, these goals are also used as part of the evaluation process of every leader in our system. So in addition to following the state-approved multiple performance rubric that is used for principals and multiple performance dimension rubric for leaders that is used for assistant principals and academic administrators, each of us have an individual goal document that is tied to the district goals as well as to our building level or district level goals group that we participated in. The reason it is structured this way is to ensure that the work of our leaders, the work of our buildings, is the work of the district aligned clearly with the mission. And so it's a very intentional connection from this document to the work that happens throughout our organization. And there's a very intentional approach that goes into the development of these goals, the development of our big rocks at each level, and how they're executed. So in this presentation, you'll see 3 questions that have been asked for the last several years. And it's what we ask ourselves as we go into that budget process and we go into the goals development process. And that is how we're being inclusive, diverse, and axiomatic. Inclusive in the sense of how do we make learning relevant for all students, diverse in the sense of how are we responsive to the different learners that come into our community, and axiomatic in the question of how do we make sure that schools do what schools are supposed to do for all students who walk through our doors, which means our students end up realizing their full potential. So we have 4 core goal areas. The first, which we often reflect on as the foundational goal for the district, is organizational culture and environment. There's a saying that strategy eats culture for breakfast every single day. And that's because in order for people to feel safe and able to take risks and do their best work, that's from staff to students to us on this leadership team here, we have to feel that we work in an organization that sees us, respects us, and is able to support who we are as learners and as workers to do our very best work. And so when you look at the organizational culture goal, it is focused on all of us in this organization feeling a sense of belonging, acceptance, and compassion for others. And this is woven throughout all of our goal statements and is woven throughout the profile of the Shenendehowa community, where we lay out what we need for our students to demonstrate at each level and what we expect our employees to model and demonstrate in their particular roles. So in essential objective number 1, we tackle the promotion of equity, diversity, and inclusivity. And this, again, is about focusing on that authentic sense of belonging for all of our students and our staff as a part of our organization. And you'll see specific goals when we come to the mid-year presentation, or big rocks, at each level that are addressing how we help students feel seen in our organization. You'll hear about partnership teams that are working to make sure that the school experience is an experience for all students and not just coming to school to learn the academics and check the boxes that we know they need before they graduate. And we all know that children learn best when experiences are meaningful, connected to who they are as a person and what they hope and expect to see in the world. The next essential objective is around health and well-being, right? And so we look very thoughtfully around the psychological and social emotional support and physical health of our students, because we have to educate the whole child. Again, not just that academic component, but looking at what they need to be successful as individual students, what they need to feel supported as they navigate the challenges of growing up in current times, and to make sure that there is something accessible that helps to shape their lives and they know who their person is in our organization that they can trust and count on. Next is engagement. This is something I'm sure that you've heard many of our leaders in their mid-year reports and other opportunities that we've had to present. It's always been a central focus for us here at Shenendehowa. It is a goal. Part of that authentic sense of belonging is engagement. And I often say to people who say that Shen is so large, the benefit of that largeness is we have the opportunity to find something for just about everyone. And the nice thing is usually that is coming from the voices of our students, what makes them feel important and connected to our school buildings, and them coming up with the ideas that we are able to then invest in and create opportunities that help them to feel engaged. So each of our schools continue to look for ways to effectively engage our students. Goal statement 2 is about school and classroom experiences. And this goal statement to me always speaks about the Shen learning framework, right? Because central to that is curriculum, instruction, and assessment, and really our why, our students, our how, that's how we teach our students, and our what, our curriculum, what we design and make sure that our students learn that are in line with New York State learning standards, are the focal point of this goal statement. But this goal statement is also about how we effectively design instructional practice to meet the needs of the different learners that we see in our organization, from our highest performers to those who need additional support. And so this goal statement and essential objectives really help us to narrow in on the questions that we ask ourselves about what students need to promote deeper learning and learning that's connected to their lives, and that they're then able to apply to their endeavors behind Shenendehowa. Instructional delivery and dynamics is a place where we invest a lot. You remember as a board that we've invested in instructional coaches and a professional learning department to really ensure that we're able to cultivate and curate the best possible instructional practices that our teachers are able to apply that result in stronger learning experiences for our students. And we have focused a great deal on equitable measures of student learning. How do we actually know what our students are learning and have proficiency in, where they have needs, and where they have the opportunity to be enriched? And so we've invested a lot into our data systems to be able to analyze student learning and to make different decisions about the individual students who are in front of us, and to make sure that our grading practices, which has been a huge focus for us, are reflective of the students' learning and not ancillary factors that may impede or impact learning. Goal statement 3 is around personnel and professionalism. So centered to our organization are each of our employees that come to Shen every single day and create opportunities for our students. And this is a fun one, particularly in the summer, because you think Shen is quiet in the summer, and it is not. There are many trainings that are happening, and not just trainings for our educators, like PD Palooza that was happening on yesterday at 8 o'clock in the morning with swag all over the table and great sessions for our teachers to participate in, but the trainings that Barb and Becky are able to offer in terms of safety for our maintenance and our security staff. The training that we offer for our newest maintenance workers to really learn the cleaning techniques that are important to make sure that our buildings look the way that we expect them to look for our very own children. And so we invest a great deal in personnel and professionalism in terms of the professional development of our staff, but also the intentional recruitment and hiring and retention of our staff. We have an organization where people want to come to work. If you've ever sat on an interview process, you'll sometimes wonder, why would someone leave a district after 15 years? And you'll hear sometimes people say, I've been waiting for this opportunity to get to Shen. Because they've heard about the experience that the students have here, they have other friends and colleagues who work here and have had a positive experience contributing to the organization. And so it's wonderful to welcome in both brand new employees and employees that bring experience to round out and diversify our organization. We also look for ways to create an ecosystem of engagement, and that is really a theme that I've been talking a lot with our leaders about, and that is about building our collective capacity as an organization. We each, as individual leaders, bring something unique and special to the table. It's why we were hired, but together our synergy is 10 times, 100-fold more powerful. And so how do we continue to engage our employees in a way that we continue to improve based on the assets that we each bring to the table, and continue to create networks of trainings. We have professional learning communities at the high school and middle school level where teachers are constantly working together to refine their craft. And of course, our various leadership teams throughout our organization that are continuing to enhance each other's performance. And our final goal statement is around fiscal responsibility. And we used to always say, we think fiscal responsibility, we think that's the business office's problem, right? We just want to spend the money, they figure out how they let us spend the money. But because we, often on the ground, in terms of the educators in the classroom and our leaders leading them, are often making the instructional decisions that drive what happens fiscally in our organization. And so we have had to learn as leaders, how do we effectively manage and responsibly manage the resources that we have for us. And so we spend a lot of time with our leaders, as you learn through the budget processing, around strategic budgeting. We try to take a look at what is happening now and what is going to need to happen in the next 5 years to ensure that we are planning not just for this moment, but for what needs to come. We do a tremendous amount with obsolescence planning. So when we purchase new things, what is the replacement cycle of what is the cycle of how those things get replaced to ensure that we don't find ourselves in 5 to 10 years trying to figure out how to replace hundreds of things at one point in time. We evaluate the effectiveness of current programs and practices in deciding we're going to reallocate funds or to add to something because we see incredible value in it. We work to provide equitable resource allocation. We've said over and over again in this district, service follows needs. So we try to look at what the needs are in the organization to make sure the resources are invested in that particular arena. And so you've seen that through the budget cycle when we bring particular positions forward in order to support a growing ENL population, or to support a growing special education population, or to add an academic intervention service provider. When we do those things, it's done through intentional review of data, what the impact of that work has been, numerous conversations with leaders and staff members in the district to make sure that we are putting our resources where they are most needed. And finally, we have structure and predictability. This organization has sustained its high performance through sustainable and repeatable successes, and that happens through intentional planning and thinking long-term about the innovative things that we want to see happen and how we can map those out both backwards and forwards so that we are able to accomplish them, and so that we don't, as we've said many times, experience significant dips or changes, either good or bad, in any given year, but that we are consistently continuing to improve as we strive to ensure this incredible experience for all of our students. So these are our district goals for the year. And I will pause in case there are questions or comments.
It helps that generally this is building on what we've seen. Good stuff.
And
Exciting.
hopefully you've made, like, after our organization meeting, we talked about the big rocks for the
Yes.
organization coming through
Yep.
the year, steeped right back in these goals. Nothing that we do isn't aligned with the goals that we have identified as an organization. And part of our consistency is due to the fact that the broader goal statements have not changed over time, right? You know what the 4 goals are here at Shen, but we have enough flexibility in the language around the essential objectives to really make it reflect what we are currently doing in that alignment.
I do like the big rocks when you shared that. It's a nice, it helps just to see, well, also to see the picture, because this is very high level.
Yes, but then there are concrete things that happen each year. And the nice thing about this also is that it's a living, breathing document, right? It's not something that often happens in organizations where you build out a 5-year plan and it sits somewhere. But the fact that we have an iterative process that we go through from spring until this point in time to really action these goals that make sure that we actualize our mission is a really significant process. So next up is our organizational chart. And this document, I think, is also incredibly important, particularly if you are new to the organization. But for us as an organization, it outlines who the leaders are in our system and how they interact together. So this particular image is really important because there's a series of different types of lines. And the lines that we always point out are those dotted lines that go across the entire document and that connect us all together, because we each have a responsibility for everything that happens in the organization, even though we each have our distinct areas of responsibility. And so that is a really important part. And the other piece that I learned deeply when I came in through my first year was the school leadership and the academic department leaders. That is a tie that binds, right? Those 2 pieces cannot happen without one another. Our school leaders are on the ground every single day making sure that things are implemented and happening in a supportive way for our students, and our academic leaders are working in partnership with them to ensure that they have the curriculum resources that are executed in our classrooms every day. And so it is a really powerful synergistic relationship that, again, helps us make sure that we produce the best possible results. The document really does outline the key roles and responsibilities, but what it also affords us an opportunity to do, which is what DLST did with me a few weeks ago, is to dig deeply into our areas of responsibility, see the spaces where we intersect and overlap really intentionally, because we've often said in the organization, there should not be a single point of failure. There should be someone else on our team who has some semblance of an understanding of the pieces you execute, so that if there's ever a need, someone else can step in and make sure that work continues to happen, which is incredibly thoughtful, and it's also thoughtful about how we think about our transitions. So each of our district leaders took time to review what their responsibilities are, how they've evolved over time, and really took time to share out with everyone at DLST how we interact with each other, and where we see opportunities where we could intersect or interact more, or shift or add responsibilities as they've evolved as we evolve in our roles. And so there have been some revisions from this document to last year to make sure that we accurately reflect the work that people do and further refine or define the work that people do. And a lot of that work happened on this section of the document where we list out just some of the things they do. There's no way we could be comprehensive in all the things that people do every single day, but this is a great document to reference, to have a sense of like who we call for what in our organization, and to make sure that everyone in our organization knows who to call for what. So when we do onboarding of new leaders, this is a focal document to help them understand who the points of contact are and who's able to carry this work forward.
When I saw this, the first thing I thought was, who had Hillary Offstein's work before? Because that's a new position.
It's a great question. And who had it? It was, again, you talk about that intersectionality and multiple people being responsible for multiple things. A lot of those pieces fell with Ms. Carmen and Ms. Saliger. And the yet to be replaced Director of Facilities. And so in looking at some of our needs, that's how that position was designed. So anytime a position is created in this organization, we're able to go back to a very concrete document that represents, here's the work that we are currently doing, how are we able to do that work in a more efficient and effective way, what is a skill set that we need someone to bring to the table that helps enhance or elevate this work. We often say that when we hire someone, it's an opportunity to elevate our practice in another way, because we're not hiring a replacement for someone, we're hiring someone who's going to step into that shoes and add something different and potentially better to the organization.
So what about ones like facilities?
So some of our positions, not to get too technical into the HR world, have a particular process that they have to follow through civil service, and this is one of them. So the director of facilities is a civil service position, so there's a list and all these pieces that have to happen. And so we've gone through several iterations of a list, still trying to find the best possible selection for what we need. And to the credit of our maintenance and facilities team under Barb's leadership, they have continued to forge ahead. Bringing Hillary on has been an incredible asset to make sure that we've been able to keep pace in all of those assets, but we are still steadily looking for a director of facilities. And this just outlines our leaders in our systems at the building level and the particular areas of leadership that they provide oversight over and support. And so again, you'll see that overlap that kind of outlines the theme of this document. But it is a very comprehensive document that allows us to have a sense of what our capacity is as an organization and where we may be able to add or realign capacity.
Further questions?
Thank you. Thank you.
And so next we'll have our building level emergency response plans and safe committee.
So tonight, we are presenting the building level emergency response plans that you reviewed in executive session for approval, as well as the safe committee that goes along with that. And it also is the second reading tonight for the district level emergency response plan that we have going forward tonight. And that was second reading, excuse me. And that was, we also made a little update to that to include some of the updated information from the first time we presented to the second to tonight. Specifically outlining some of the language about the cardiac emergency response plan. Any questions? All right.
I do have one quick question. Do we have to approve the people that are on the save tonight or no?
It is
Yes,
part of that.
it is part of it.
I was actually looking for that.
Yeah, it's part of it.
It's under.
It's like, it's in the document.
It's in the
Oh,
document.
it's in the policy, so
Yeah.
the name's in the policy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And keep in mind that even that list is pretty comprehensive and pretty spot on, but even as of this afternoon, we have an addition to that.
Oh, there it is.
So it does fluctuate a little bit based on students' names as well as some staff that may or may not be able to.
I see where you have a
Yeah.
placeholder for students. So we're gonna have 2 students or 1?
That's our hope, is to have
Oh,
2
okay,
students.
that's fantastic. I don't know why, I totally missed that list, but thank you.
Thanks.
That is just an awesome picture. I love that picture.
So tonight, we wanted to provide an update on the elementary report card. This is a process that began, honestly, almost 2 years ago with the development of a committee led by Erica Ryan, co-chaired by Jill Florio, one of both elementary principals for us, to really take a look, going back to our goals document, of our equitable measures of student success. And there's been a lot of work done around equitable grading practices at the secondary level, and really the elementary report card became the vehicle for elementary to really take a look at what our practices look like and how we assess students and how we provide information to our families and students about their performance. So tonight I will just provide you an update with the process that was utilized and begin to preview some of the documents that will be shared as we look to implement this report card in December with our first trimester. So the committee was given a charge, which was to reflect and evaluate our current grading practices and really, again, align with those equitable grading practices that we are seeing 612. I kind of talked about it with them as being the entry point, the parents' first entry point into how we assess and talk about student performance. And if we are able to set the stage at elementary school, that the report card isn't just about the grade, but it's about what students are actually demonstrating in terms of their learning, the standards they've mastered and where they need to continue to grow, then we are better preparing families for the next level as they move into 6 through 12. The other charge was to create a report card, to create clear guidance documents for our students, our teachers, and for our families to understand the new report card document. And to create rubrics to ensure alignment of how we are assessing students from grade to grade and from building to building. So as I said, about 2 years ago, we started in 2023, 2024. We put together a committee that was with volunteers from every elementary building, both teachers and administrators. And participation, there were different people who participated at different times, but that way voices and perspectives were heard from each school building, but also you had people at the table who could bring back information and give feedback from each school building. Research was done on how other districts have used report cards to reflect grading performance for students or proficiency performance for students. And we brought in the academic administrators in partnership with the 2 elementary principals leading the committee to really look deeply at the standards that needed to be prioritized for each grade level. So there are a plethora of learning standards at the elementary level, and if you think about the elementary teacher who teaches ELA, math, science, social studies, really refining what those priority things are that have to be taught within the course of a school day and a school year are critical work that our elementary academic administrators do. And the best way to ensure that we are getting to those priorities is to identify them and to tie them to the reporting structure. There's a phrase that says, what gets measured gets done. And so highlighting those priorities really helps to narrow the focus for teachers. We also have coordinators at the elementary level from each building that serve as representatives, and they were also a part of the process to ensure that we had ongoing feedback from each building. And then draft report cards were created. So there's a timeline here that has an important component about surveying parents and really trying to get from parents what they feel they need in a report card to really understand. Some parents go straight to the comments. I just want to know what the teacher has to say about my individual child at the elementary level. Some are really focused on those individual grades, some the social emotional learning pieces, but really they wanted a report card that would tell them who their child is as a learner and what they can do as a parent to continue to support them. So we were able to take that survey information from parents and incorporate it into the design of the elementary report card about halfway through the first year. And then we continued to draft and revise over the course of really the last year a report card document that was reflective of what parents identified and what teachers identified in terms of being able to accurately capture data that they're seeing in the classroom and reflect it in a report card in a way that's meaningful for parents. We spent a great deal of time on what is traditionally known as like effort and conduct, right? So you have your academic grades and there's an effort and conduct section, like does your child sit in their seat? Do they, keep a neat desk? Because my kids, that's an area of growth. And we decided to really look, again, going back to our district goals, to what we look for in the whole child, right? So not just those learner characteristics that are going to help them be successful, but what are also those social emotional learning characteristics that we need students to demonstrate, and how do we incorporate those standards into a report card. And so what you'll see as we go through the document is a report card that reflects both the academic, social emotional learning, and learner characteristics that our students need to demonstrate success, that we hope provide a more comprehensive picture for our families. So in January and February, we spent time with the draft report card, basically taking the show on the road and going into faculty meetings at each elementary building and really talking with them first about the why of why we are looking at grading practices the way that we are, and about what standards we are looking at and why, and how that was going to play forward in a new report card, just to give them a foundational understanding of grading practices. And then we used March Superintendent's Conference Day to coordinate for a consultant to come in to provide specific training to our teachers and administrators around standards-based report cards, or standards-aligned report cards, because that is ultimately the direction we decided to go in. We decided to pull out those priority standards from our academic administrators that our academic administrators identified and make them the basis for how we're going to score a report card. We talked extensively about how we get grades to represent who the child is right now in this moment as a learner, not an average of their performance from the first time they interacted with the concept. And so when parents look at a report card in December, they will know how their child is progressing at that moment in time and have a sense of how they've grown over the course of time. And so grades on this report card will be grades very similar to what parents will receive for New York State assessments, and that's a 4.3 or a 2.1. And that's not an unfamiliar concept for elementary parents. It's a feature that was used for portions of the report card, but not all of it. And so now consistently the academic grades will be given using a 4.3.2.1, and the social emotional learning grades will be given the grades of a C, consistent, satisfactory, progressing, and needs improvement for their social emotional learning grades. Report cards are being, at this moment in time, created in Infinite Campus so that they are prepared and ready to go, because teachers will begin to fill those out early in the fall, and so we want to make sure that they have them and are able to work with them. Where applicable, right now 3rd through 5th grade uses Gradebook, and so we'll continue to navigate the use of Gradebook in connection with the new report card. And we have developed a video for our families to understand the shift in the elementary report card. And there is a brochure, which I will sample, that our communications office worked on to be able to have something concrete that parents can print out and have in their hand prior to report card time and when they're sitting in the report card. And then, of course, our presentation to the Board of Education this evening. So this is our sample report card, and so each grade level has different standards or priority standards that are listed under each category, and we try to identify again those foundational skills that they need. And here's the social emotional learning category aligned with the CASEL standards, which are the social emotional standards recommended by New York State Education Department, as well as the key to help parents understand what a 4, a 3, and a 2 mean, and understanding that our goal is that our students are meeting proficiency and developing their proficiency towards the standard. Not pictured here, but will still be available, are the very important comments that teachers provide to families about their individual students. But parents will be able to glean a lot more information from the standards that were traditionally, squeezed into comments. Now have specific information about their actual student performance in the report card document proper. And this is our hot off the presses draft brochure. We're still doing a little bit of tweaking, but this document is really to answer some key questions for family right from the beginning. Why standards-based grading, tips for reviewing the report, why is attendance important, what does a 3 really mean, what does it mean when my child gets a 2 or a 1, and to really have an understanding of who their resources are. The teacher as the first point of contact, but both your principals and your academic administrators also have information to offer. And a reference to the additional documents that will be provided to them. And so basically this outlines the categories in which the students will be measured, so that again, before seeing their actual child's report card, parents have some guidance here. In addition, we talked a lot about the importance of the communication plan for families. So in addition to the video, the brochure, our superintendent's conference day for elementary teachers will be focused on the report card with a lot of professional learning planned for them and the execution of the report card over the course of the fall. But our open house will also be an opportunity where parents begin to get introduced to the concept of the new report card before sitting in their parent-teacher conference in December. And that's basically what I just said.
It has been a while, but I'm glad. 4, 3, 2. Yeah, that'll be interesting I think it will align. I mean, they're used to seeing that, so. Well, they're not, but the new ones will come on.
It's more aligned with learning,
Yep. Yep.
instead of,
Concentrating on
the percent,
the grade.
and we know
Yep.
how flawed that was,
Yep.
because it focused on failure rather than success.
Agreed.
So this looks like we're
There's
in
a
the
lot
right
of
direction.
explanation,
Yeah.
which is really in clear explanation to the parent, because a lot of times they see something but they need that explanation maybe said 3 times
Or in a different way.
in different ways to have it said. I mean, I'm like that, you know, I wanna see it, I wanna look at it, I wanna read it and get it in my head. And I think that this whole program is gonna present that to parents.
And it may take some time also to prove that this is more informative than the percentage or, you know,
Yeah.
the other approach.
It's interesting when you read one of the pieces of research that we rely upon, a lot upon in equitable grading, it almost doesn't even talk about elementary school because it assumes that all elementary schools are doing standards aligned grading.
Oh, wow.
Because it is so much more developmentally appropriate for how students are progressing through elementary school versus saying, you're 8 and you're 77%. No, you're not. You're a child who's approaching or, you know, nearing the proficiency in the standard. Here are the areas where you're still learning and growing and that you have to continue to grow in. And knowing that information tells you so much more than you are 77%. The parent knows the reason that you are a 3 or a 4 is because you are still learning how to identify key details to support your response. That tells you more as a parent than on that one particular test or that combination of assessments you've gotten 77%. But it is a paradigm shift for us, and so it isn't lost on us the amount of communication that is going to be needed for families to understand and to be, to your point, to be able to go back to and reference, right? So being able to have a brochure that you can go back to, or video you can go back to, as well as your, you know, your staff and your buildings as a resource we think is critical.
So it's been a few years since I've had a high schooler, but there was a 4-3-2-1. But is it across the board?
So
at the middle
there
and high
are
school?
different elements of what you would call 4-3-2-1 or rubric-based assessment throughout our system. Like middle school science does rubric-based grading.
Okay.
Again, with that in mind. And a lot of our departments, some of our departments at the high school level have rubrics that they are using to determine a score, to turn into a number, to put into a grade book. And so because there are some things that are again, more developmentally appropriate in that 4-3-2 range, like writing. What's a 97 in writing, right? When you're looking at globally the skills that you want students to execute when they are putting together a writing piece, there are key features that you're measuring and the degree to which they have effectively done those pieces. And so there are places where rubrics have, in that broad range of scoring, have been more impactful in terms of being able to provide feedback that helps students grow in their learning. I mean, think about our whole evaluation process for staff. It's a 4-3-2-1 for that exact purpose. You're not a 97% as a teacher. You are demonstrating particular qualities that we expect you to see in order to be effective in your practice. And that's what we want for our students.
And I can see like in the backpacks now they have the state, where they had them separate, the state test is aligned now with the assessments of what, when like my child was in middle school and they took the science or elementary, it was 4-3-2-1, now they take those state tests and put them in that category too. It's only a matter of time where they're going to do that as well, right? Because that's where the regents are going now.
Great point. So when you think about the portrait of graduate that was just approved by New York State, what they've talked about is designing this rubric that students are going to measure themselves against in order to demonstrate they've met those criteria, right? And the different pathways that we're going to create for students, the big conversation is how are we measuring? Right? So we've had the traditional way of measuring with Regents exams, which are not going away as an option. I'll keep saying not going away as an option. It's a pathway. But what are the other pathways that are developmentally appropriate for individual students to demonstrate their mastery of the content they've learned at a high school level? And so it is really in alignment with that thinking to really tease out and how do we have students demonstrate their learning beyond a percentage or a snapshot in time.
I like the fact too that when you look at the progression indicators, that it reflects more in terms of a objective, meaningful indicator versus, I'm not saying that conduct and effort is subjective, but it's in a young person's mind, it's subjective, right? Like, well, that teacher said my conduct was 2, and I'm like, well, Joshua, that's not good. And he's like, well, that's their opinion. I'm like, okay, but this, right, so that this is definitely very clear that it's objective and it has meaning behind it and there's room for growth, there's areas of opportunity to grow.
I think like in, hopefully, practically speaking, this will actually assist the teachers as well, because you would write all this stuff out in the comments, like you were saying, right? This is the stuff that I look for, is I would just look at the comments, like, okay, what exactly is she needing to work on? And here, it's all laid out already. And I think that's fantastic, because you can't miss a section, right? And
Mhm.
you gotta go through everything. And also, I echo Carla's comments, I really, really appreciate the information that's going out in conjunction with this. Because a lot of times people will eventually love the product, but they don't feel like they understand the product, right? And then, people talk online and they're like, oh, this is, no one asked me about this or talked, I mean, we did, right? And it's all right there. So thank you for the thorough overview.
A big shout out to the team that did it. right?
Team,
Erica,
incredible
Jill,
team
and the
coming back
Yeah.
month after month to look at multiple iterations, to really have, I would say, intentional conversations. They didn't all agree all the time, right? This is a, shift that we're making, but being able to really focus on the why, to, commit to some things and then actually play them through and be like, nah, actually, that's not a good idea, right? So really taking 2 years to have those conversations and to go through multiple iterations of feedback has been really important. And as with anything, as we implement it, I'm sure there'll be adjustments that are made to make sure that it continues to be a document that represents our student learning.
Any comments? All right, moving on to the action items. And Deanna went fast-paced today. As you all know, this is not this is a study session, not a business meeting. So I didn't read, obviously, there was no public comments today, so I apologize for that. I just put it in 80 miles an hour and went. All right, for action items, so A, if you're following along, approval of the district goals and objectives, which Dr. Wilson-Turner did a great job, providing us a roadmap where mission is clearly defined, strategically guided, and effectively measured. So did a great job with that. So can I get a motion to approve? Naomi is first, Carla is second. Any comments?
Great job.
Good job.
Onward, all hands. Approved. Motion passes. Thank you. B is contracts, BOCES, communications, public relation hours. So this is a great stopgap that we are bringing on for temporary, but it's well needed, and I appreciate it. So our money, can you just scroll down there real quick? Thank you very much. 14,818. Not
So
bad.
that's a maximum.
That's a value.
It's a maximum, so if we use all the hours, that's what it would total to, and it's on an as-needed basis as we need it.
Perfect.
Can I get a motion to approve? Naomi's first. Petra is second. Any comments or questions? Can I get a full approval? All hands. Motion passes. Thank you. MTech, Early Learning Center. This is for us to move what we have in IT over to 5 Maxwell. It's part of the capital project that we all, we voted on, right? For 5 Maxwell, so.
And it puts all of us on the same
Same
base
level.
system.
Same system. Can I get a motion? Petra's first, Naomi is second. Any comments or questions? Approve? All approved. Thank you. Jeffrey Recreation Early Learning Center Playground for 5 Maxwell. Also part that was approved, or no, to be approved tonight. This was not part of the capital project, but has a very lengthy and inclusive breakdown of exactly what is included and what was put out there.
Did you say it wasn't included in the
It was-
initial?
it was not.
We had it was in the plans.
We bid out and had to look through specific playground providers.
Right, okay.
I
Okay,
erred on
but-
that. It wasn't, the first one was the last.
The
which
MTech
was-
one,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Can I get a motion? Naomi's fast tonight. Can I get a second?
It's like I need that playground.
Yeah. Can I get a second? Petra, second. Any comments or questions?
Yes, I do.
Yep.
Just a piece of information. In looking for the material for all the things you want to put in the playground, did the teachers have a say? Were they part of the committees to?
So typically we would take our design elements from the provider to the ad hoc committee to look at those pieces, but we also had to look at, how do I want to say this? We had to make sure the pieces that we selected would be able to house, for lack of a better word, the capacity of students we need to be able to have on the playground at any given point in time. So wherever possible, like furniture and playground equipment and those things, we're trying to bring that representative group of teachers in to give insight into what they think is going to work best.
Excellent, thank you.
Do I get, second, all approved? All approved, awesome, thank you. All right, and then contract renewals tonight, we have the SRO. I know we had questions on the floor previous. Everything is laid out to, Petra had some good questions previously. I think they've all been answered. We do have one on site during the summer. It's laid out there, so thank God we have them. We're still at 3, correct? So, can I get a motion? Carla's first, Petra is second. Any comments or questions?
I just want to comment,
Yep.
that this is silly, but it's called a contract renewal. This is a new contract. I mean, it's substantially similar, right? But it does do different things than the former contract did, so I just want to.
It's a good point, because it's a 5-year contract, right?
Yeah,
And the other one was adding on, so.
yeah, this is, I mean,
Is it revised, new, or
No,
renewal?
this is a new
This is a
contract.
new
New
contract.
contract, okay, so you have to change that. Okay. Just be under contract. Contracts, it should be under contracts, period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. Yeah,
Great, thank you.
thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem.
Vanessa, thought on that, thank you. Okay, you want to, all approved? Can I get a motion? All approved, thank you. And then policies and procedures, P&Ps, second reading. You want to just come up, give your thoughts briefly? I just wanted you to get steps in there.
I got enough in today, but thank you.
Okay.
Yes, again, this is what we've already presented and talked about in executive session, but also what we presented at last Board of Education meeting, business session about the state committee as well as the district emergency response plan.
Thank you. Can I
Thank
get
you
a-
for your work.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can I get a motion?
And Hillary's.
And Hillary.
Yeah, you're.
Naomi's first. Can I get a second? Andrea's going up, don't call Andrea. All in favor? All in favor. You got the comments out, thank you. Motion passes. All right, and then personnel items,
Ms. McKenna's going to come in for Ms. Leva.
Good evening, everyone. Is this on?
good evening. Oh, I don't hear that
This is to the
in
left.
the background.
Sure.
Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
There you go.
Okay, good evening, everyone. This evening, I'm speaking on behalf of Ms. Glia and the Human Resources Department. You have the staffing agenda in front of you for your review and approval, and this includes things like extra pay, new hires, resignations, and retirements that support the ongoing needs of our schools. I would like to take a moment to recognize 2 valued members of our Shen family who are retiring. Naraja Elena, a secondary school monitor, is retiring after 16 years of service. And Sean Elizabeth Recor, a bus monitor, is retiring after 25 years of service to our students and community, and together they represent 41 years of commitment to our district. I'd like to extend on behalf of the district our heartfelt thanks and best wishes to both Ms. Elena and Ms. Recor in their retirement. And at this time, I respectfully ask for the board's approval of the staffing agenda as presented this evening.
Thank you very much. So I think I'm gonna go through these separate because they should be separate. So the staffing recommendations as they are, there's a lot. We had coaches and everything, this is that time of year, right? And also I just wanna comment real quick, new teacher orientation was phenomenal. I think almost every school was represented. Vicki, thank you so much for giving me the detail that I asked for. Art, PE, all the arts, special ed, our educators, English, math. I mean, we had it across the whole gambit. Everybody was represented. And I gotta tell you, when you look at them, the energy that you can feel in that room, and I said to them, bottle that energy. Because when I come to, I wanted the pictures of them, because I want to see them as the year goes on, because I want to make sure that they keep that energy and innovation that they walk into that room with that day. because it is so very important. So I was glad I was part of that and grateful, so it was awesome. Okay, so can I get a motion on that? Carlos first, Naomi second, all in favor? Motion passes, thank you.
I was wondering with the bus monitor, is he gonna get invited to the 20-year employee recognition?
That's a good question.
He
Is that
should.
happening
He
soon?
should.
He should, based on our calculation, he should.
Is it 20 or 25?
25, it says
25.
25
Yeah.
on there. But I don't know when that is effective.
And very grateful as well, transportation summer work for all the work that they put in over the summer. Can I get a motion? Petrus first. Andrea second. All in favor? Motion passes. And our special education ESY summer program, again, a lot of work that goes into that, a lot of educators, aides, transportation. So big thank you to them, and can I get a motion? Petra is first, Carla is second, all in favor. Motion passes. Thank you, some kind of, number 4, good of the order. Anybody want to have anything, shout outs, great things? We got first day of school coming next week. Oh, boy, we're gearing up.
Superintendent's conference day.
Superintendent conference day.
Walk through all the buildings, probably the highlight of the start of the school year, being getting in those buildings and seeing the new kiddos.
Is the plan to go to high school east for the board? Okay. Is it gonna be between 2 buildings or just 1 building? As far as the presentations, like the kickoff,
Oh, we'll
Yours.
all fit in high school east.
all in high school,
Mhm.
okay. And at like 8 o'clock?
I'll
It's
link
very
the
exciting.
agenda for, in our Friday rules.
Also a shout out for our 2 graduates on the summer
Yes.
graduates.
Graduates, yeah.
Yeah, that's all right. So I did have something that, it was something, shout out to Saliker, our facilities and grounds people, and this is actually observation, but also someone reached out to say this, and I thought, oh, this would be great for a shout out. To say that the campus looks better than it's ever looked. Trees are trimmed, dead trees removed throughout the campus, 3 at the entrance of High School East, and 1 large tree opposite the tennis court. I didn't even know there was a large tree removed over there, but sure Mrs. Seliker knows that. Per safety protocols, the campus road markings freshly painted, stadium field freshly painted in the end zone. High School East courtyard near the library looks amazing and inviting and completely revamped, trees removed and opened up for more light, and observed, actually this one piece I thought was interesting. I really appreciate that all the traffic cones at High School East are the same. And you never know what bothers someone, but,
That's so funny.
yes, but to get that feedback to say, hey, somebody paid attention to that and I do appreciate it. So I thought this was wonderful feedback because I think our staff need to hear that, and it's also exciting that the campus is, the excitement, to your point, even meeting with the new teachers, but there's a lot of excitement for next week.
I wanted to shout out the middle schools, maybe, I don't know if it's just Gowan or all 3 of them, but they have an entire orientation walkthrough for 6th graders, which I believe is new this year. And I think that's a fantastic idea. So it's no parents, you walk your schedule, right, from 9 to noon, and you get to meet all the teachers in advance, and you get to mess around with their lockers in advance, and I just love that. I know when my kids went through middle school, the 6th grade orientation, it was just parents walking the kids around, right? And it was fun, but also, I don't know if it really emulated, but it gave them the same experience. So really good job on that. And I did the high school walkthrough today, also awesome, very excited kids. And then I wanted to invite Maddie in case she wanted to say anything as well.
And yes, all 3 middle schools new this year, 6th grade only.
Such a good
That's
idea.
very fantastic.
Such a good idea.
There's been requests for that.
For the exact
Yeah.
reason you say, like they have to
Yes.
learn how to navigate that piece themselves.
Yeah.
Wait, no. Okay, that should be on. So on the 21st, the Senate had another HOCO meeting with our committee, and we mostly did promotion, which was basically, we made these really large, like rolling paper posters that we put up in both the cafeteria and the Metamorphosis hallway, and that has all the information for the dance, the Hoko dance. So it's like because it's like really big, like everyone sees it. And we also made like TikTok videos, which we actually post on the Instagram. But like that's another way that like the students actually see the information. It just works better. And then also with the start of like the athletic program, like the athletics, the spirit rally heads have been messaging like the different coaches and like been in communication with them, so we can have like the number of the varsity athletes to then coordinate them for the spirit rally. And then also on Monday, the like senators, the upperclassmen senators are also part of the ambassador program. So when the new to Shen students were there, we had maybe like 10 to 15 upperclassmen senators who were helping the students and their parents who are like moving to the district, like show around in both High School West and High School East, like their classes and such. So that's what we've been doing.
You guys are busy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. Can we go to homecoming?
So, do we know who, I'm sorry, Maddie, I didn't have you on, I'm thinking study session, so I'm not thinking that you had updates. So, do we have a rep yet?
Yes, Eric Key is the representative, and then Grant Key's like my like double, who I don't know where they are, but they got
No, it's
like information for this meeting. But I presume they might be on vacation, but I presume they'll be at the September meetings.
Yeah, it's all good. All right.
And there's a training for them available this year, so Vanessa sent that
Yeah, because the
information, so
state
they will-
really pushed on
State
for.
mandated,
Yeah.
we've been
Yeah.
doing it
Yeah.
forever, so.
No, I think training's a really good idea, although Sin has, I think, done a great job.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
just the expectation, I know BOCES is doing it, and I think it could be their training that they're rolling out. Yeah, okay, that's what I was thought. But good stuff.
Very good.
I just had a couple quick things, so we're talking about bar. Some enhancements to concessions, so thank you. She moves very quickly, she's ahead of our plan, so we are very grateful for that. And I did have a couple of questions that I had posed to Dr. Wilson Turner, and she was very gracious. My one concern was, how is it gonna play out for our students when they're used to navigating their schedules on their cell phones, especially the first few days of school? What does that look like? And not everybody owns a printer, right, in their house. I mean, we do, but not everybody does. But, so I was assured that there would be the ability, I mean, they can use their Chromebook, but again, walking around school with a Chromebook trying to navigate your schedule might be a little difficult. But there will be opportunities for students to have their schedule printed, and I'm just remaining hopeful that it's all, we're gonna organically grow through the process, so.
We definitely will, and Mr. Gastonelli mentioned that teachers will make time, particularly in those first few days of school, at the end of the class period, for students to be able to pull up their schedule if they need to check where they're going before they head out into the hallways. So we're trying to be as responsive as possible to the transition that is going to happen, but also knowing that our students have had some experience with packing away their devices, so they can fully attend to class over the last year in our secondary building. So it's really important that parents continue to ask questions, right, so that we can reassure them that we have thought of these pieces, or, oh, great thing, let's make sure we have that in place for the start of the school year. So I think in partnership, this will continue to evolve, and we'll be able to support effectively, and I know at the high school, in working with their planning team, which includes our STA representatives as well, they plan to, do like a check-in a few weeks in to have a sense of how things are going, both from the parent perspective and the student perspective, staff perspective, so we continue to make those adjustments.
That just reminded me, I'm sorry, in the walkthrough, which is East, I noticed in every classroom that I went into, there's a little box. And that little box has got a styrofoam holes to put your phone in. And in the very front of the classroom. So that's an option, but it's just an option. And the teachers that I spoke with said, I don't think it's gonna be a problem. Like, we've done this before, like, my kids are used to it, and they know, turn it off, and they said that, however the answer occurs, right, it's gonna be organic, I think, from classroom to classroom, but they all seem to think that it was settled, and it was gonna be a good thing. Yeah.
Good stuff tonight. Okay. So, we talked about dates coming up, big week next week, so can I get a motion to adjourn? Petra's first. Andrea second. All in favor? Meeting ends.